What is up, everybody? It is your boy, Pigskin Pete. Happy Thursday to everybody. If you're new here, make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe button. I do these college football videos and live streams year round. So the rumor mill has been circling ever since USC and UCLA announced that they are leaving the Pac-12 and joining the Big Ten in 2023. And ever since then, it's been hard to figure out, really. Exactly what's happening. A lot of speculation, and that's really all it is a bunch of speculation about what's going to happen, well, around the country. With the rest of the conferences, is there going to be 2 super conferences, 3 super conferences? You know, which conference is going to be eliminated in this whole thing, in this arms race? And it's been confusing. First of all, I've been on YouTube for 5 years, almost 6 years. This October will be 6 years I've been on YouTube making college football videos and whatnot. And I don't think there's been anybody in the college football community that's been a bigger defender of the ACC than me. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Point me to the person who's been a bigger defender of the ACC than me. I'll be happy to check them out. But I'm not delusional, okay? I mean, I see what's going on. I mean, there was about a 3-year period there in the early 2010s when the ACC had a winning record against the SEC over a 60-something game trial period. Okay, so regular season games, bowl games, playoff games, whatever you want to mention. The ACC actually had a winning record over a period of years against the SEC. And they play a lot of games against each other for obvious reasons. I mean, there's sort of a loose affiliation. Jesus. There was sort of an open relationship between the ACC and the SEC, geographically and otherwise. But I'm not delusional, like I said. Ever since, let's say, starting around maybe 2017, I think, maybe 2018, the ACC took a nosedive. Virtually every team in the ACC, not the SEC, has had a coaching change in the past 5 years. You don't make coaching changes unless your program is not doing good or your team's not doing good, okay? And, you know, unless the coach just leaves on his own accord or retires or whatever. But most of these, coaching changes have happened because the programs have taken a nosedive. Clemson has really been it. I mean, Florida State took a dump. Jimbo Fisher left, Florida State in a bad way. Or, look, depending on who you ask, maybe Florida State left Jimbo Fisher in a bad way. I'm not here to argue that, but the point is, Florida State was one of the crown jewels of the ACC, football-wise, and they took a nosedive. Miami has been up and down, up and down, up and down. And I love to rag on Miami because they've been in the ACC for 18 years and still haven't won an ACC championship, not national championship. No, not an ACC championship. And you've had 7 different winners and 7 different years in the Coastal Division of the ACC. And then, of course, you have Clemson in the Atlantic Division, who's really been propping the conference up. And benefiting from it too, I guess. I mean, all the people that talk about, Clemson's only good because they're in the ACC. They have a cupcake schedule every year, which is a complete nonsense if you really look at their schedule. They can't control what happens in the conference. All they can control is winning games and who they schedule out of conference. And their out-of-conference schedule under Dabo Swinney has been impressive. They're not running from anybody. I think everybody knows that if you're paying attention to football. But I think the time has come. I'm making a golden blue dude prediction here. I don't have sources or anything. This is all coming from right here. The old noggin. I think the ACC is done. The latest news, again, hard to decipher what's real news and what's fake news, or what's speculation and what's not. But the latest speculation as of today is that Clemson, North Carolina, Florida State, and Virginia are looking to join the SEC. And reportedly, ESPN is working on breaking ties with the ACC contract-wise. Because look, I mean, if those 4 teams leave, it really only takes one team. But if those 4 teams leave, the ACC is over. And I really didn't even want to talk about Pac-12 affiliation, loose affiliation, loose whatever they're calling it, doesn't really matter. It's as big as bullshit as the alliance between the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and the ACC was. Nothing but smoke. Now, there's been rumors over the past week or so that the SEC has been reaching out to certain teams in the ACC. Clemson, obviously top of the list. Florida State, obviously top of the list. The other ones rotate. I've heard Miami. I've heard North Carolina. I've heard Virginia Tech. I've heard Virginia. It really gets confusing, right? The only hope for keeping the ACC intact prior to 2 weeks ago was getting Notre Dame. And with the move by USC and UCLA to the Big Ten, it's become, like I said before, a race between the Big Ten and the SEC to gobble up the best teams in the country, to create some sort of giant conference, whether it's 20 teams, 24 teams, or whatever the case may be. And so the ACC is sinking right now. I don't see a scenario where the ACC survives this. The only way it could possibly happen is, first of all, to retain every team that's already in the ACC. None of them can leave. And I know you'll go, well, who cares if Duke leaves, Pete? Well, Duke is one of the biggest athletic brands in the country. I don't care how bad their football team is. I don't care if Duke's football team doesn't win another football game for the rest of history. They still are a big brand, and big brands is what sells TV revenue. And basketball is a very close second to football. I say very close. It's a second to football in revenue, TV revenue and otherwise. So even Duke leaving, Syracuse, same thing, would be a devastating blow to the ACC. Now look, if Clemson leaves, if Florida State leaves, I'm just talking about one of these teams, not all of them. Forget about it. It's over. The only hope was to expand the ACC the same way the Big Ten and the SEC are doing. But the problem is that the ACC is incompetent. We already know this from the deal that they've had with Notre Dame for the past 6 or 7 years. This loose affiliation, open relationship bullshit that they got with Notre Dame, where Notre Dame plays basically an ACC schedule, but is not an ACC team. So they get all the benefit of beating up on the bad ACC teams and boosting their record, and some years translating that into playoff appearances where they lose. But it's been one bad decision after another by the ACC. There's not a conference in the country that wouldn't take Notre Dame on if Notre Dame came out today and said, we're going to join a conference. They can pick where they want to go. The SEC would take them in a heartbeat. The ACC would take them in a heartbeat. The Big Ten would take them in a heartbeat. The Big 12 would take them. Anybody would take Notre Dame in a heartbeat. Anybody. And anybody who thinks any different is just a Notre Dame hater, and you can't see the forest for the trees. So to make a long story short, which is too late, I think the ACC is done. I think within the next couple of years. Well, first of all, when I say they're done, I don't mean that the ACC necessarily is going to go away, but it might become sort of like a Big East type of deal, where it's just a basketball conference, and you may have teams in there that don't even have football programs. I think that the majority of the ACC teams are going to get swallowed up by the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big, whatever conferences are left over, the Big 12, and that's going to be what it is. So it was a nice run, I guess. I mean, it was fun while it lasted. I do want to say this in parting. I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it at all. If you're a Clemson fan like myself, all you've been hearing, well, forever, but certainly over the past 20 or 30 years, if you're old enough to remember that, is how terrible the ACC is. Clemson wouldn't survive in the SEC. Clemson wouldn't survive in the Big Ten, blah, 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 blah. Well, I hope we get our chance. I'm at the point now, I want Clemson to join the SEC. That's where I'm at. I don't want to go down with the ship. Look, I'm not that motherfucker on the Titanic that was playing the violin when that thing went down. All right? Put me on that lifeboat and sail me right over to the SEC. And if the water is freezing and there's a door floating, I'm pulling off that bitch off that door, and I'm saving myself, Leo. Okay? Yeah, put me on that door. There was room for both of them, by the way, and there's room for Clemson in the SEC. So, best case scenario, Clemson gets the fuck out of the ACC. And we'll see if what people have been talking about, Clemson not being able to compete in another conference, is actually true. I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that. Your boy, checking out.